Welcome to Miss Smart Muses. Welcome, Miss Smart Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, today we're going to talk about something that makes me a happy, happy camper. It is Magician. It is Magician Apprentice. I am loving so much revisiting this book. Currently I'm in the toward the end of the entire series, which is 200 million thousand books. So it's really fun for me to go back and see Pug and Thomas when they're just little baby boys and starting off on their adventures. And I am once again joined all the way from a place further away from me, from where my current location is. It is Princess Rennie.
Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Steve. How are you guys?
Yeah. Doing great, doing great. I'm hating humanity with a passion unmatched. But besides that, I'm doing fantastic.
Well, you can't win them all. But yeah.
Oh my gosh. And all the way from the future, all the way from the future, and a northern hemisphere, a more northern hemisphere, definitely a more northern latitude. It is the one, the only, the Viking himself, Steve Kenobi.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm quite well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How's the future?
Uh, I don't know. Pretty okay, I guess.
Hey,
Having
well,
a
that's
splendid day. My hatred level is only at 87%.
That's not too bad
hey,
knowing you.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say, yeah, no, that's quite some positive stuff going on here. That's good to hear because usually you say the future is quite terrible. So very nice to.
Well, a few countries are fucked, but they were that yesterday too, so.
Okay, but we haven't had nuclear war start yet,
No.
There's always tomorrow. No, just kidding.
though.
Sorry.
well, you realize that once it starts, Stieg will be the first to know.
Oh,
Is
that's
the
true.
Yeah, he's
Because
he
I'll
is right
start
next.
it.
Because you're dropping truth bombs. No, just kidding.
He does drop tooth bombs, yes. No, but you're right next door to Russia. Russia just can hop over and blow you to kingdom come.
Yeah.
Well, at least you
So
can jump in the water if you see any explosions.
Yeah, because that would be great. I mean, it's not like it's cold or anything.
yeah, he'll die of hypothermia instead of fallout.
You might
Well,
be able
look
to
at
keep one of your feet.
The Song of Fire and Ice.
That's right. Sorry.
Hey, look who's here, Jacob. It's always great to see you. Thank you for being here. And he says, after saying good morning, y'all, I don't care what fantasy story they are in, dwarves are always awesome. Yes, they are
Yes.
precious. Oh,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I agree.
and look who's here, Snortapoopa Scoober, Hawoo, humans, and other critters. Why, hello. We love our animals, except Steeg. Uh,
We missed you, Snortapoopas.
yeah, we did miss you. Well, I don't know. Steeg always has interesting encounters. He hates my cat.
Well, you have a
But I'm
shit cat.
Oh.
He hates my cat. But I've been cat free for like more than a week. So, I mean, I don't know what you have to complain about.
I haven't complained.
Well, that's true. He hasn't. He's been free of the cat. All right. Come on in. The water is nice and chilly. Oh, there you go. You see Snortapoosa. He lives in that water. On the iceberg, eating salmon, hitting baby seals over the head.
Clubbing baby seals with salmon.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Terrible.
horrible.
Okay, we're terrible people here on Miss Smart Muses, just so that in case you were wondering. Damn, you're a vicious woman, Rennie.
What can I say? At least it's no harmful byproducts being utilized. It's all natural or organic.
It's organic, yes, it is. Oh, Jacob says the Polar Bear Club. Yeah. Oh, Jeannie Mac. Well, okay. Well, the last time we read the book, it was right before. Sorry, where we cut off from the book. Rather, we stopped right before all sorts of crap hits the fan, and so in these four, it's only 4 chapters, but there's a lot of material in this, and the chapters are much longer. So we read about 100 pages. And I'll throw it over to Rennie first, because Rennie's the only one that hasn't read it. What were your impressions of what's to come?
Being my first time reading it, I'm kind of curious about some of the main characters' fate, because it does not sound like this book is going to end well. Now, I could be wrong on that front, and it could be because it was originally a 1-parter and now it's a 2-parter. But I'm getting a very glum feeling from some of these chapters, and I'm thinking that some of our main characters might either get kidnapped, murdered, or have other bad things happen to them. So hopefully I'm wrong on that front, but I'll kind of explain why I feel that way as we progress through the stream today. So it could just be a paranoia of mine. I don't know.
I'm sitting here, I'm biting my tongue.
I sense impending doom there. I'll sum it up that way.
Yeah. Oh, and part of me is like, oh no. Well, hello, Keck44, and hello, Matt G. Did Matt G bring the bacon? Oh, he did bring the bacon. Okay. Yeah. I guess it's not a spoiler to say that you might be kind of on the right track. Well, because also in many of the chapters, it was the 8th, I think. Pug even kept saying, I have a feeling of impending doom.
Yeah.
So,
and somebody with like natural talent, when they say that, it's like, oh crap.
Yeah. These chapters made an impression on me the first time I read them, and the second time, just how awful a lot of what they experience almost right away after they start off on their journey. We'll get into more details about that as we get further, but yeah, if at first when they seem very excited, like, yay, we get to go, and then like 5 minutes later people are dropping dead left and right, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Alien, like everyone's being picked off and they don't see it happen.
Yeah, that's pretty good right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Steeg, what are your thoughts this time around, general?
I haven't read the book since the 90s, so I'm drawing a lot of blanks when I'm reading. Like, oh yeah, this stuff, I don't remember this.
Do you do kind of like I do, where you think like a certain part is in a different part of the book or whatnot, or, oh, I thought this didn't happen until now, or I thought this already happened. I kind of do that.
Yeah, and also when's that character showing up and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then they do. He says, storm happened. Oh shit, storm happened. Yeah. I just feel like a horrible human being right now. I'm feeling really, really guilty. But you know what? If I had to experience it, so do you, Rennie. And it gets worse like 15 books in. Steve's talked about that a lot. Character, it's not even what we're doing or something, but I was just like, wow, I'm so excited. 3 of my favorite characters. And, none of them made it out alive. They died like in the next chapter or something. It's just like, really? But there are even characters don't exist.
This guy's going to survive because there was a priest there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because in this world, the priest, it's part of the different magic things, and that there's priests and all that, and some of them are healers. So I'm like, oh, he's going to be all right. Look, they ran for the priest, and he's going to do a spell.
Well,
spoiler, that's going to happen.
Well, I have a feeling. I'm telling you.
Not in this book though.
Well, yeah, like I said,
It's
and
like
it's not even characters.
6
Characters
books
that even,
ahead or something.
yeah, they're characters that haven't even been born yet. So, but shit does happen. Yeah. Well, because there has to be a great danger in a book for it to be credible, and if it's not something that could realistically be something to, wipe out the entire planet. What I personally like about this a bit better than what Terry Brooks does, and no shade against Terry Brooks because everyone writes the way they write and they're very consistent with it. But in Terry Brooks's case, his method was Al-Anon shows up and says, okay, something you've never heard of is going to destroy the world. And
Which
in this
is the
one,
same thing Gandalf did.
Yeah.
I said I'm not throwing shade. It's a different method.
Yeah. Terry Brooks basically writes adventure stories, but he sets them in a fantasy setting.
That's a fair call.
Yeah, but Feist is kind of different, but also familiar,
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't write like most fantasy writers, But he's doing one thing that Tolkien did, and he's fleshing out the world as the characters travel through it. When the hobbits travel from Hobbiton to Bree and Rivendell, he's fleshing out the world as they learn more, which is what they're doing in this book.
Yep. And we slowly learn about the threat. That there's the train wreck, or there's a train wreck. There's the shipwreck, and then the invasion, and then the elves come and they're like, yeah, we've been noticing things too, and then you finally realize the scope of it.
Yeah, and we don't learn much about the elves until they're there, right?
Correct. Just a little bit from Martin Longbow, the Longbow. Jacob Irons said
that was really more about Martin than the elves.
That is true, because we learned he's got an air of mystery about him. Jacob says, I'm going to say this, I have no favorite characters. Hopefully that works. Yes. Oh, go ahead, Rennie.
I'm right there with him. I'm sorry. So I kind of understand that, Jacob. So you are not alone on that front. I don't really have any favorite characters myself.
Yeah, and that was my fault because I hesitated because I was trying to think how to answer that. You are right. Now I love Thomas is my boy, but my all-time favorite character, first of all, has not appeared yet, and one of my other ones is actually Arutha. But right now, Rennie, you don't know why Arutha is so fucking awesome. You know what I mean? It's not happened yet. Like right now,
that's what I was gonna say. He hasn't gotten a whole lot of exposure in the story yet for me.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't. He's been a background character, slowly building a bit though.
Yeah. Like he'll be like, Father, what shall we do now? And Boric will be like, I don't know, son. But and that's kind of that whole the way he slowly builds up the character of them. And well, Martin the Longbow is also one of my others. But again, we the ones that have come up so far, I think that's the only ones because I don't want to spoil my all-time favorite.
The dwarf was awesome, Dolgan.
Oh, of course you love Dolgan, yeah.
But you don't get much of him until one of the later chapters that we're on at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. I just said that so the favorite characters don't die. Oh, yeah, because I did say that. Yeah. Well, I've learned it doesn't matter. Your favorite characters will still die. And I always blame Stieg when it happens. And he's always
because I wrote these books apparently.
Yeah, I didn't write it. He says again, my favorite characters are side characters. Yeah. And we're gonna get there. Actually, maybe we should start digging into the chapters. But Roland, uh, he's one of in this particular book. You start to see how Roland is actually kind of a cool dude. Because at first you're thinking, oh, he's just the rival for Peg, and then you realize that there's
Yeah.
some more layers to him, and then he's gonna really come into his own as well.
Yeah, because at first I'm like, oh, he kind of snippy. I don't know if I like this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
he was.
it's because we get it from Pug's perspective when Pug
Mhm.
doesn't like him.
True.
Yeah, because he's his rival for Carlene, and Carlene, I'm remembering what I remembered when I first read this, and is that she is not likable at this portion of the story.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
She's a twat.
yeah, but but you'll see, things will happen, but and we'll get. I'm just going to start jumping into this so we can discuss some of the details. Oh yeah, I have some issues with her. Oh look, I almost shared my tax return. Yes, let's dox me. Look, everyone, you want my social security too, and all of that.
Well, at least you caught it.
Yeah, well, I'd made sure I'm always pretty anal retentive about making sure I click the correct link when I share, but I didn't realize that I hadn't closed it. To what? Sort of all right, so just so that we remember, we have Pug, our intrepid little hero, who is now been studying as a magician apprentice for about a year. And whoops. Oh, here's Cridey. Because the map is really important in the course of this story here, and I did update some of my maps. That is where the Duke is from. I found a better picture of Carlene. Oh wait, but because she was supposed to have dark hair. The other one I had didn't have her with dark hair. So here's Carlene, the princess, who is a bit of a twat. Fantas gets lucky in these chapters. I thought that was awesome. There's my Thomas. Some really crap hits the fan for my poor little Thomas.
I think at the end of this book, Rennie will be a big fan of Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't say anything without spoiling anything.
It's not far away though.
I know. I think it's the next chapter.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Thomas is the man. Gosh, on so many levels. Oh yeah, thank you, Jacob. Whenever people post pics, whenever people dox themselves, I take screenshots and take notes. LOL. Yes. Well, you know what's scary? I know you're joking. There are actual people that will do that.
Yep,
They've
that is
got nothing
legit.
better to do. Yeah. Drop it in to give a quick yo in the chat. Well, yo, Copa Catania. I am on my Close Encounters. I'm going to post a little sneak picture. There's a reason it's taken me as long as it has. I've had to do extensive editing on my Close Encounters Kerwin hand signs, but it is coming. I promise you. I had to cut out a bunch of Gregorian chant. But that's an aside. So thank you for being here. Yeah, there's my boy. Gosh. Okay. And then, oh yeah, the Duke Boric, who's pretty badass himself. We saw, how his leadership skills. Yes, take your time. I'm patient, says Copa. Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. It's very
Boric
difficult.
is competent as hell.
Yes.
Actually.
Mm-hmm.
Usually in fantasy stories, you'll have the early leader is actually shit.
Yes.
But not in this one.
No. He's a great guy. I love him.
And we're also past the build-up phase now, because every big fantasy series has like a lot of build-up at the beginning, introducing the world and in this case, how magic works, because that's vital to the story, you know. But we're kind of into the story now, and we know what they're fighting for because we've been introduced to Cryde and the people there, and you know,
Mhm.
it's it's sometimes a very slow burn in some books, but eventually it pays off, right?
Yeah.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, I know Brittany's a little skeptical.
Yeah. I can't
It's
say with surety because I don't know.
and I completely understand, and I won't judge you at all. I will just hate you forever. Right? So no
So,
pressure. No.
so no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, no. No, I get it. I get it. This is different from a lot of the other books that we said in the sense of, like Steve was saying, for one thing, it really takes a long time to get going. And like I said, one of the main defining things that's going to happen hasn't happened yet, and not even a hint of it.
Yeah,
So,
and the first, at least the first half of this book is character driven,
mhm.
you know, rather than event driven, because the characters are growing, but they still don't know what they're dealing with, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, and he does a lot of show not tell, which is kind of a good thing, but it can also be a little.
Yeah, I noticed something in the second last chapter that we did today, but I'll mention it when we get there.
Okay. Teaching like buttons, who's boss? Yeah. Thank those buttons. Yeah. It's very hard to get across musical concepts. Yeah. So, and here's Martin the Longbow. Again, we barely even seen him. Uh, and, this is Arutha. These are fan arts, obviously, and obviously nothing will be perfect. Now I made this map to give us an idea once we get going on the journey where we're going to be headed, because they're going to go toward the Green Heart and toward the Gray Towers, so kind of south across there. We'll bring up this map in a little bit, but first let's get into chapter 6. That was where we stopped last time. The elves finally showed up, and I just love the elves. I think, Steve, you were talking about how you felt like the elves in this book are more elfy.
Yes, they're more elf-like than in the Shannara books, because in the Shannara books, they're pretty much humans with pointy ears.
Mm-hmm.
They're not
Yeah.
very elf-like, are they? You know.
No, and they're shorter than humans in those books, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and in this one, that they're more Tolkien elves, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they have like a magical quality about them.
Yeah, and they live longer. In the Shannara books, they don't. They live as long as humans.
Yeah. It says here they lived in these lands long before the coming of men to the west.
Except Edain Elessdil, who got his knee smashed and then got killed by gnomes when he was like 20.
That's true. And we learn a little bit of the way magic works. Colgan says something about magic is a collection of folk arts and skills passed along from master to apprentice since the beginning of time. Each of us is like a carpenter making a table, but each of us choosing different wood, different kinds of saws, using pegs and dowel and other nails. So that's the way that he describes all the different orders of magic and the way magic is, and why some magicians can do some things and others can't do others.
Which is a theory or philosophy, I guess, that you can also apply to writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I'm a fair fellow.
Oh, how dare you? Well, and then this is all interrupted with the elves showing up. And the scope of these elves. Not only are the elves kind of larger than life, they're animals. They said their horses full 17 hands in height with a long flowing mane and a tail like a plume. He's like, elf steed, says Thomas in hushed tones. Martin Longbow had once told them about them. And it said only one with elvish blood can command them to carry riders. And they all had like a musical sounding voice. And we see the queen who is incredibly tall, almost as tall as Boric, with a mane of thick reddish hair, and Thomas is very smitten.
Which also means, red hair, they're gonna race swap her in the TV show.
Oh,
They always
gendercide.
do, yeah, no, they always do it with the gingers.
Well, there you go. So those of you that like an elf with red hair,
Like Lady
R.I.P.
Toriel.
Oh yeah, yes, you're right. And she had a circlet of gold around her brow, which held back her hair, and revealing the lobeless, unswept ears that were the hallmark of her race. And they were all dressed very bright clothing. They were all youthful. And Thomas like, if I live to be 100, I will never see her like. And then Thomas gets invited to the feast. So that's kind of what happened. So we get to know the elves, and Thomas gets invited into this world that Pug entered when he became a squire. And I had forgotten that Thomas wouldn't be hanging around. He wouldn't know how to behave at a feast because Pug had already learned that.
That was good attention to detail from the writer too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because Thomas doesn't know how to eat properly, right? With all the different, forks and knives and all that
Well,
stuff.
I thought that was interesting because I figured being a soldier, or like, I don't know, which would like sometimes be like a knight or like
Oh no, he's just a guardsman.
Okay. I just figured he would have some sort of courtesy training, I guess, so to speak.
No, he would eat in the barracks.
Mm.
Yeah. And sometimes some of those nights, that was also like if you were like a special kind of a knight, or even then it was class. And someone like, say, maybe like Roland, who was an aristocrat, might have had that. But then there was always the just normal soldiers. Snortopupus likes the idea of ginger elves.
And the fun thing interesting thing about this is Feist's first book, and it ended up being one of the most popular fantasy books of all time, actually.
Yeah, it was
Which
huge
is
in the 80s.
yeah, this is his very first writing.
Yeah, he said he got lucky because he did everything that they told you not to do.
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to copy the Lord of the Rings and all that, and
That's a good call.
yeah. And
Yeah.
later on, you'll see just how different it is, and it works. And I've noticed a lot of foreshadowings that I never noticed. The first time I read it, right? Because hindsight is 2020. But
Yeah.
I'm like, this was interesting, and yeah, clever bastard.
Yeah, the bastard. Well, and what we learned from the elves during this is that the elves had actually been seeing these kind of invasions, and they were very, very worried. And then because the elves are worried, everyone is worried because they're like, we're really screwed.
Yeah, it's like they have not been worried for a century.
Exactly. And this is the first time also that we hear about the elves, about Stone Mountain and the Grey Tower that to which we're going to be seeing. And do they mention Dulgan at this point? I don't think they do, but So we're going to be seeing the dwarves.
Yeah, I think there's a slight mention.
Yeah, like a
Mhm.
little mention in
Yeah.
passing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, one of the elves clarifies with Pug that even though they appear to be magical, they're really not magical. The elves, that maybe they have like an affinity with nature and stuff, but they don't have anything supernatural.
Yeah, because Pug has to entertain Kalen, the prince,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
he's very straightforward.
Yeah, I love that some dialogue between Pug and Kalen because they start to talk about Carlene and Roland. And Kalen says something that really struck me. He says, "You choose how you feel. Roland makes you feel clumsy only because you let him." And that's actually kind of true. That it's a choice if you're going to let something bother you. And then he goes,
Yeah.
the faults we see in others never seem as dreadful as those we see in ourselves." And he also gives some insight about Carlene. Carlene has romanticized you in much the same manner your friend has our queen. And she seems to me to be being very petty with him, like flirting with him and everything, even though she knows that it pisses Roland off, which isn't very kind.
No, but it's very teenage girl-ish.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That's true, because what are they? They're like, what, 13, 14? They're not very old, are they? I forget
I
how old
think Pug's like 15 now.
Okay. And I think Carlene's the same age. Okay, fine. I'll give her a little bit of a break. Hello, Meteor Advocate Timon. Yeah, Meteor hasn't come yet. Oh yeah, there's a funny thing here where Thomas shows up and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna fight the Serrani. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome." And it's like, yeah, it's so often. He goes, I will go to Elvendor someday, and when I do, I'll be a great hero with victories over the Serrani by the score. What do you think of that? And Pug goes, and I'll be the greatest magician in the land.
I mean, that's typical teenage boy stuff, right?
Yeah, but it's also a little on the nose, not to spoil anything. I'm like, what? Did you really do that, Feist? Yeah, but it is also it's very much a part of them. Yeah, and but I do love them, and I like the way that they're just such good friends, and it just makes me want to cry because I love them so much.
Oh.
Yeah, my boys, and then they're really excited because they're going to get to go see Krondor as well, and you'll get to go see Krondor, Rennie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they realized that they were going to get to go. And then that's the end of chapter 6. So, before we move on to chapter 7, is there anything, Rennie, that you wanted to add, especially as Madame La First Time Reader?
Not too much really. I feel like this was another kind of exposition chapter as well as getting to know Pug's, I guess you could say, weakness, or which is the princess right now.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to know that she's a bit of a weakness for him, even though he doesn't want to admit it. So it's kind of what I take away from it. And then, you learn a little bit about like the elf lore, like, facts about the elf race, but not too much yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Pug came up with an idea for getting the smoke out of the room.
Oh, that's right.
Which was
Not chimney, but what do you call it?
a hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was quite clever, which shows you that he's good at solving problems. and Colgan alluded to that that might be his problem because he's overthinking almost when it comes to magic, right?
Yeah.
So it's his strength, but it's also his weakness. Imagine that. Yeah, and I actually like that touch because it makes sense that if you're always having fires like that indoors, it will be smoky and that he found that solution, and we're going to see later that it serves as a plot point because it makes people able to overhear what you're saying.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm ready. Well, Steve, Steve, you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, good.
I like the monotone. No.
No, well, no, it's nice and blunt. Father Tully also has some good advice in chapter 7 for Pug. He says, "Stop worrying about what the princess feels and thinks, and start discovering what Pug feels and thinks."
Father Tully is a superb priest.
Hmm. I love him.
He's great.
He knows his crap, and
I have a sneaking suspicion that in the TV show they might combine Tully with Colgan.
That would make sense because they're similar but different. But yeah.
yeah, you're right, and they probably won't want to have a positive character called Father. That's too because they don't like clergy. Um, but but actually, I could understand that. There's no reason to have them be separate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right after this happens, Pug and Roland finally have a bit of a confrontation because he's like, "Good day, Pug." He's like, "Good day, Roland." And he's like, "Are you expecting someone?" He's like, "I'm expecting the princess." "Oh, really?" And then he says, "Lady Glennis mentioned something about a note, but I'd come understand things were strained." And he's like, "From one squire to another, Roland. It's none of your business." And then he's like, "Be damned, it's none of my business," says Roland. "I don't know what you're playing at, Pug, but if you do anything to hurt, I'll like me, hurt her. She's the one playing us one against the other." And then the Pug felt the ground tilt under him because he got his butt punched.
Yeah, and Roland is a bit of a boxer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
it's actually cool that they call it fist boxing.
Yeah.
So it's not just a copy of boxing. He actually gave it their own little name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like versus like, I don't know. Like fighting with magic or swords, they actually, it's like hand combat, but saying it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why he was handing Pug his ass.
Yeah.
But this is where Roland starts to change in my eyes. I really like this scene because what Roland says is,
this is also the second time Pug has had the shit bitten out of him.
that's right. He's a bully magnet, except Roland's not a bully. Roland's like, "If you ever say ill of her again, I'll beat you senseless." And then Pug realizes what made him lose his crap wasn't that he was the jealousy, though that was part of the animosity. He was like, because he said he talked smack about Carlene. And so you start to realize, hey, Roland really, really likes her. And what he's feeling is, not just jealousy, but it's not something petty and small. And he really got pissed off that Pug would say that about her, even though it's true. And they come to that understanding. But before they are able to discuss it more, the fight's going on, and then Pug, without even knowing what he's doing, because he's getting his butt kicked, he starts to see again those blinding letters of light and flame. and he does a spell which nearly kills Roland because Roland starts to choke himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pug
and
basically force chokes him in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he uses like Roland's own hands, doesn't he? Because he's like,
Yeah.
it's an illusion. You're choking yourself. Stop.
Exactly.
Stop hitting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop choking yourself. Stop choking yourself.
That's exactly what it is. Oh no. Oh no. And so it just reminds us again that how powerful Pug is and how scary it is because he cannot control it. And of course he's horrified. He didn't want to kill Roland. And by the way, hello, Andrew Matthews. Great to see you here. If you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe. First, read this book in 1989. Bought it at 11 and finished it at 8 a.m. the next morning. Wow. Nice.
Couldn't put it down, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's always the best. Jacob says, "Here, Pug, you dropped." Oh dear. And then Roland is like, "What's going on? What? Why?" And he says, "Because you're under a spell more compelling than any I could fashion." And at that moment, Pug says to him, "You truly love her, don't you?" And he's like, well, yeah. And so you realize again that his feelings really are strong and genuine for Carlene. And he's like, "And you?" And Pug's like, "I don't know. She makes me doubt myself. I could be, I don't know why." And he says, "Where she's concerned, I don't have a whit of wit." And then they start laughing, and Carlene comes up, and they're just laughing, and she gets kind of pissed off because they're kind of having a bro moment, and she stomps off, boys, because it. And Pug said, "I understand now. You were right. She's only setting us against each other." I'm sorry. Roland says that. "I acted badly. You're right. She's setting us one against the other. I am the fool. It's you she cares for." And Pug seemed to will. He says, "Believe me, Roland, I'm not sure I'm to be envied." Which we're already seeing with this character. I don't think it's a complete entire spoiler that we realize that Carlene is not necessarily good for Pug and vice versa. That the fact that his feelings for her, I think that he's fond of her, but it's also very hormonal.
Yeah, and he's very conflicted about it off and on.
Mm-hmm.
But he still cares for her.
Yes. And she throws herself at him all the time. And he even says, if she ignored me, it would be a lot better. He says, "I've got my apprenticeship to complete." So in a way, it's like, hey, dude, I've got... And it's like, Carlene, back off. The dude has... Yeah, and since she's such a noble lady and all that, it's like that she doesn't maybe necessarily understand what it's like for someone like Pug or Thomas or anyone.
They're in the midst of puberty, and she's giving them a boner.
Pretty much. Being a cock tease.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll have more to say about that as I get closer. I was gonna say, oh no, my mother
came in at the wrong time.
Oh no, not my mother. That's not in the characters. I hope. They're out walking on the balcony and they're waving at me. Hello, Canadian Spider-Man. I think if I didn't say that already, yeah. And that's another thing is that sometimes girls can be real bitches. I'll just say it. Being a girl and having that, we don't realize. You got to have some mercy on men, especially young men, when you're a teenager, because of what Steve just basically said. It's like we don't know the power we have.
Right.
And someone like Carlene thinks it's kind of a game. So anyways, but that is a key moment. That's where we realize Roland is not a prick, that he genuinely cares for her, and he and Pug become friends.
They basically go on a bender with Thomas.
Yes, they do. They're like, "We're going drinking. Come with us." He's like,
"Yeah."
What they call it? They said we were practicing for the Duke's fist boxing tourney, and then they're laughing because they're so drunk. Yeah. Okay. Why? Thank you. I think. All right, and then they all get hung over. This is a key moment of bonding.
Oh, yes.
So we're all becoming bros. And what happened later when Carlene and Pug get together? Oh yeah, he gives he gives her a hard time about Roland. She says you've used him rather badly. And then she goes, he's a spineless idiot. If I asked him to jump off the wall, he'd do it. And it's
she's
like,
not wrong, but
yeah,
still.
but yeah, it's like, mm. Oh, and this is also the time. Wait, she comes to his room, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which Pug very rightly is saying, it's like, girl, you don't realize like that if Arutha or the Duke or someone, if they had been caught, he was only half joking when he said he was worried about capital punishment. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you were seen to be deflowering the crown princess, or not the crown princess, but a princess, a virgin, noble woman,
Yeah.
you could get your ass killed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, that's a risky move right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because you're actually putting the succession at risk, because the future husband would want a virgin.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why they wanted virgins, yes, it was pride, but it was also to make sure that whoever, was sired was of the bloodline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I felt like Carlene at this point was being very, very selfish, and it wasn't kind. And what is she? She's wearing her nightgown, and all he can do is like look at her boobs through the, it was like, like a lot of nightgowns, especially old fashioned ones, where it didn't leave much to the imagination. And then she kissed him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, please go away.
It's like, that's not my cock, madam. It's my wand.
Hello, look who's here. We have an Australian in the house. Good day, everyone. Great show. Rennie, I freaking love you, wifey. Not watching chat, but listening along. Aw. Oh, sort of poopus. Besides, it's rude to steal people's flour.
Oh, dear.
Well, she makes a bit of a...
I mean, she puts it all out there, man. I mean, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Don't you want to? I mean, that's pretty much what she does.
My rod of lordly might. Oh, dear. Yeah. Now, I don't think they actually say that he had a boner, but I think it's pretty clear, because he's like, oh my gosh, will she leave? He said, if she doesn't leave soon, I won't be able to control myself. And he's like, you best return to your rooms now. And then she even kind of knew what she was doing, and this would be a thing too. She said, yeah, and if I'm not careful, I'll end up in a nunnery. It's like, yeah, you dumb bitch. So what are you doing? Yeah, that sometimes they would do that when a girl was deflowered.
Yeah.
They'd have to take the veil, they would call it. So it's like, girl, you could have talked to him some other time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one thing that Pug says is really good. She's like, well, don't you want me? He's like, it's not a question of what I want, don't you see? It's a question of what I am. And what is he? He's a magician.
Exactly. So, he's not, like, he's a member of the court, but not really.
Yeah. And even though he is a squire, the Duke wouldn't. He's not fancy enough to marry the only princess. And I like it when Colgan, because we find out that Colgan was listening to all of this. And sorry, I should never read the private chat. Colgan was listening to all of this because the stovepipe thing carried the sound. So, and that's where it says a really good line where Colgan says to him, I'm really proud of you that you were able to resist her and all that. And he said, it was easy enough. I kept my mind focused on something. And Colgan goes, what? And he said, capital punishment. I love that.
I like how he just happened to be listening. He's like, yeah, I heard every word you said. It's like, dude, were you just, did you have your ear to the wall? I mean, what's going
on? Yeah. In that scene, they both show maturity. I guess. I'm not so sure Carlene does, though.
She did a little near the end of the chapter.
Fine. Be nice to her. Okay, yeah, because she says you tried to understand me more than anyone else has. You know. Well, I guess they needed to have this moment.
Yeah, because Pug is leaving anyway.
Yeah. All right, fine. I have some strong opinions.
He and Carlene or I don't know if it's Carline or Carlene, because I know they say Carlene on the audiobook, but you know, maybe they could have had a goodbye or a parting shag, but still he would have gotten busted.
So. Yeah. Close to 14.
I think. Well, he's 15, I think, but yeah. I don't know if they tell her age or not. Yeah. I don't remember.
I don't think Feist would have gotten away with that.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was joking, but maybe not. Again, it wasn't a complete joke about capital punishment. People got executed who slept with like the queens of England before they were even married. Because when King Henry VIII's fifth wife, she committed adultery, but also someone that she had slept with before she was married to him also was killed when it was found out that there was sex that had happened. Because the whole idea is it's medieval, haha, as fuck, but it's the way it was. And it was okay to sleep with a harlot, but not with a lady, unless you were married to her.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, yes, a man could be killed, but the consequences were also awful for women as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And as far as Carline, I
think it's Carlene.
I think it's Carlene too, and I call her Carlene. If for no other reason, Carline just reminds me of school. It's dismissal time. I think I've said that before. So,
Actually, I think it's Carline, because I think Feist said it in an interview. But I guess both are fine.
I feel like Carlene hits the ear better, but I'm like, I wonder if this is how he would rather have it said.
Yeah,
I agree.
Everybody Google. I've told you my bias, yeah. And I've just said it before. I have issues with her, but I can't spoil anything. So we'll see. Because I don't think it's a spoiler to say eventually a lot of these people will grow up. So a person can be forgiven for being a stupid teenage twat.
Yeah. We've all done. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've all done some dumb things as teenagers.
I've never seen a teenager that isn't a damn idiot, myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pug was pretty mature. All right, so that's that. really don't think there's much more to be said. So, and then before he leaves, the next day, they all getting ready. It's like, yay, we're going on an adventure. Chapter is named Journey. She does come down and she throws her arms around him to say goodbye and gives him a kiss. And everyone's like, ha ha. That I guess it's innocent enough. And I felt like this was a little safer because it was in public, it was in daytime. We're not going to have any issues. Yeah.
Exactly. Instead of looking like they're sneaking and being naughty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, as they get ready to go, they see Martin the Longbow. He's like, who, Martin? Are you traveling with us? And he said, for a short while, I'm going to lead some trackers around the boundaries of Cryde. And he said, and then Pug goes, what do you think of this Serrani business, Martin? And he says, what we've been saying. If the elves are given to worry, there's something to worry over. So, more gloom and doom. And as they're traveling along, right after Martin leaves them, they see a whole bunch of dragons doing a mating dance. And apparently, Fantis are like, wait a second, is that Fantis? And it was, sure enough, Fantis is, well, it's mating season and there's a whole bunch of chicks and he's the only dude. And they're like, yeah, he's going to be hanging around fathering a bunch of young dragon things. And because they were like, well, why don't we try to call him over to us? And they're like, no, he's not going to come over to us. Yeah.
Like, not happening.
No, yeah. So there's some dragon shagging. Or not dragon drake shagging. Yeah.
Dragon shagging.
Yeah. Jordan Poop says, I was a very mature teenage polar bear. Oh, well done. Iron Jacob outside. I was dumb as a teenager. Well, there you have it. And for the 10th time, Thomas is like, I feel something terrible is about to happen. So that's why I was kind of joking, laughing when you were saying that earlier, Rennie. It's like, oh, you mean because everyone kept saying it?
Got a bad feeling about this.
That's exactly what it was. And this is where I found that this whole section is just scary as F, because it's like the invisible enemy. And just
I think that's well said.
Yeah, they're picking off these people. And when they attack, see, what is it? A dozen men, they just took out a dozen men, as well as Longbow's 2 lead trackers. That they used them as bait, that they had taken them so around the campfire, because that was where they were supposed to meet up with them. And it is they looked like elves, but their hair was darker, and they shouted in language unpleasant to his ears. And in just a very short amount of minutes in this blitzed attack, we've lost 18 men, 6 women. 6 wounded. All of the mules and I don't know why women came out of my mouth. All of the mules and the baggage were taken.
Yeah, it was effective as shit. And the elves are definitely kick-ass, right? We're pretty much certain of that. Mm-hmm. But the dark elves are basically the elves' cousins. Mm-hmm. And they seem to be equally kick-ass.
Yeah.
But they're not their friends. Yeah. And I realized just right away, the first attack, that when you're on a trip like this and you've lost your food, your mules, your baggage, and everything, and you basically just have the horses and the clothes on your back, you are FUCKED'd. So.
What does that mean? Fucked?
And then they're like, we've got to pass on. Oh yeah, and by the way, gosh darn it, Stieg. And then they're also saying, because Boric kept saying over and over again, the snows are coming. The snows are coming. And so I'm like, oh, damn it. The snows are coming. So they're stuck without they've only got horses. And this is where Stieg was saying earlier that Boric shows himself as being incredibly competent. This is where he shows his quality. But
Yeah,
as
this
Yeah.
whole thing is almost a bit like, George Martin when they're north of the wall in a way.
oh, and yeah,
Yeah, kind of. I can see that.
or rather, it's the other way around. Since this book came first. It's a trap. Yeah, and yeah, thank you for spelling it correctly for me. Sort of poopus. And then what's even creepier, as they're moving, they realize that they're being slowly herded to it, so that the way that they're pursuing them and all that, they realize that they're being kind of brought in this circle. They're being brought in a certain direction toward them. So even as they're trying to escape, they're in this horrible trap. And oh gosh, it's just awful. And then the horses, okay, I don't like it when humans are killed, but man, these horses, that just was really getting to me about the way that the horses were either being killed by the bad guys or they had to start killing the horses for food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet you the other horses knew what was, that they were next.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe. I don't know. Do horses, are they that aware?
Yeah, if you killed the horse next to it, it knows.
Hmm.
Horses are, yeah. But these are loyal horses, though. They're trained and all that.
Yeah. Sort of Poopus is hearing crunching. Are you
I know
the
who
cruncher?
it is.
Oh, is it Steve? Okay, because I'm not crunching.
Nope, not me
Yeah.
either.
So anyway, so what they decide to do is using an amulet to control the weather. He can. Colgan says he can mask their whereabouts. This part I thought was really creepy too, because it says it was impossible to see beyond a few yards. And then Colgan's like, remember, you must remain quiet. Let no man move. Any sound will defeat us. And it was like, this is like a total horror movie. Like if
Yeah.
you step in the wrong place, or, it's like, don't make a sound.
Which is
And-
usually when the hysterical woman or a dumb kid screams.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or a man who's a little bitch.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's equally as effective.
And by the way, they're all in the green heart, and then snow. Oh, and then while all this is happening, snow begins to fall. So all the snow that they kept talking about, they kept warning about, it's finally here.
Oh, and Gordon, the Keshian fellow,
Mm-hmm.
chokes the Moradel who gets too close.
Yes.
Because he didn't even dare stab him because it might make a sound.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever there's fog, it's okay to choke a bitch.
I mean, sounds fair.
Yeah, it says that. Yeah, and suddenly he stepped into mist, quick and fluid as a cat. There was a faint sound, and he reappeared. And before him struggled the form of a dark brother with his hand clamped over his mouth, and he chokes. Damn. Its eyes bulged as it fought to breathe.
He choked the shit out of him. I think he started bleeding too.
Yeah, out of his
Yes.
eyes, and
It was pretty graphic.
yeah. So it's fog choking. And then the Duke whispered, "They are past us. Lead the horses. We go east." And also the horses not only were being killed for food, but they also froze during the night, and because they weren't allowed to have any fire in the snows here. So they're like dead.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just so grim
Sounds
at this point.
very yeah, very torturous, you know. I just yeah. Like, oh,
Yeah.
how awful.
Yeah. And they do a count. There's only 12 of them left by this point, and they started off with like more than 60, I think.
I believe
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how much they've been picked off in this, whether it's in I just yeah, I was not happy with this. I any sound wait, Meteor Advocate says any sound will defeat us, then someone farts. Oh, you
What
guys
movie
are
did that happen
terrible.
in? Was that like Down Periscope where they were like, yeah, they were like in the sub and they're like, don't make a sound. And then that one guy farts. He's like, what the hell?
And then Jacob says horse head in the bed. Oh, well, you're not wrong. And then finally they come within their their destination, which is the gray towers. But this is also bad because it's still far away. So they're like, "Yay, we're at the gray tower." So here's the gray towers. Here's the green heart. They started here. Vroom. But the more they walk, the more it seems like they don't get closer. And I don't know if you've ever had that phenomenon where something might look like it's close, but it's also so big that you can't. There we are. Hey, look, there it is. The tower is no more than 5 miles away. This is from the graphic novel.
Oh,
It's
nice.
because it's because they're big, huge mountains that they look
Yeah,
closer than they are.
there's hills and stuff. There's up and down before you get to them.
That too. Yeah, and then they go take whatever is left on the dead animals and divide it among the men. Bring the remaining horsemen, but no one rides. No use covering the animals, for we'll make broad tracks anyways. Oh, and they're like, once across the mountains, we should be able to walk to Borden. If we are already north of the pass, we will eventually reach the dwarves, and they will shelter us. And then he looks up. If the weather holds, and I'm like, damn this weather. Gather the men. We leave now.
Yeah, and they found a cave.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then that's what kind of
saves them, really.
Yeah. Let's see. Can I look here? Yeah, because once we don't need any details. Oh, they lose 2 more though, because they had a rear guard. So as they're going along, to that 2 more of the soldiers are also picked off. So they're still being picked at as they go. So now there's only 10 of them left. And 2 days later, there's ice and there's howling winds, and they're like, a storm comes. We must shelter or perish. So they do end up in a cave where they all conk out, and Pug and them are so tired they sleep for 2 days. And then the Duke will see how things stand tomorrow. I expect we shall leave by then. And then they go, if the weather holds. I'm like,
yeah.
Once again. And then they get attacked. So as if everything wasn't bad enough, goblins show up and attack them.
Just can't catch a break.
Yeah, they lose another man right away. Well, basically, though, they killed the goblins pretty fast, and they realized the goblins had nothing. They only had 1 arrow and barely anything. So they had smelled the cooking meat and gone into a frenzy. So they were probably in the same boat as them, really.
Yeah, because didn't they say they looked pretty ragged, like they had been like pretty much almost starved?
Yeah.
Yeah. They preferred to gamble all on one last frantic assault while watch us eat while they froze to death. And that also concerns them. They're like, why are the goblins out and about? Why are the goblins in a state of being half frozen? And then they're like, oh my gosh, there's some more movements. And Bork's like, okay, get ready. We think they're going to die. And the Duke goes, "Who passes this night?" And guess who shows up? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, garlic. No, it is Dolgan. So it turns out instead of the
Did
cavalry,
you really put a picture of garlic?
yes, my garlic from my other video from my I had it on the same list. It's from my Skyrim soup video. By the way, Potage de Magnifique, watch the video and make some soup. But Dolgan is there, and I just loved it.
Yeah, he's a proper dwarf. What's not to like? Look at him.
Yeah, he's pretty savage, man.
I think maybe Teresa fell out.
Oh no.
Because when it is a proper
There she is. Oh wait. Teresa?
dwarf, and it's like, yay! They're dwarves, and they're so happy. And he's like, "I'm Dolgan, chief village of Caldera. Now, what in the name of the gods brings such a sorry-looking party of tall folk to this cold and forlorn place?" Look at that. So, Steve, you've had your moment because you always say that the dwarves are the superior race.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
He's not cold like the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was I cutting out? Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we thought you had
back.
disappeared.
Oh, so I was yapping away talking about the dwarves.
Yeah, we could hear parts of it, but like you went like really quiet or silent, radio silent for a minute, and then you came back, and then another half a second of radio silence, and then you were back.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm back. It ruined my dwarf moment. Okay. But yes, their dwarves are here. Good points.
Well, you
the
know,
dwarves are here.
It was just small talk anyway.
Oh.
Waka waka.
Yeah. When in doubt, the dwarves appear. Oh, a horse in the bed.
Usually in fantasy books, people get rescued by elves. Not
That's
dwarves.
True.
Yeah, pretty legit. Yeah.
Okay. And not only did the dwarves come and save the day, they had a pot of stew bubbling near the fire. Trail bread, thick hard crust dough thick with honey, smoked fish. And I'm like, after all of that intensity and all of that starvation and frozen and eating horses, we have stew.
It's like we're saved.
Yeah, but I always love, we always talk about how good stew is after you're really cold, but this is like a total new level of that.
I wanted stew when I read that. Okay then.
Did we lose her again?
No, we lost Stieg. Stieg, you cut out.
No, I didn't.
You said I wanted stew when, and then you cut. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, when I read that.
Oh, okay.
That was it.
And then Oh, all right. Well, Stieg wanted stew. I all of a sudden you went quiet. Gosh darn it! What's wrong with things here where I am? But yes. And there's nothing like stew. And so they're sitting there eating this stew, and then they bring out their pipes. And and Colgan says, "My pipe and pouch are 2 items always kept upon my person at all times." So it's just a very cozy scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's well, the dwarf explains basically that what's been going on their end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a cool cause and effect thing, because the Serani invaders have seemingly driven the Dark Elves further south, which is why they were in the Green Hearth, right?
Yeah.
And they again affected the goblins which were starving and attacked him in the cave. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. So it's not just they're just there to be a threat. There's actually a reason why they're
Yeah.
so far south.
And it's also kind of ominous. They're learning more and more. And it just reminds you that these people don't go traveling about talking and communicating too much. So they're over there in their castle in Cryde, and all of this has been going on unawares.
Yeah. Because basically, you wouldn't know because there's actually a great distance.
Mm-hmm.
And, no phones, right?
Yeah. And so the vastness of this is pretty clear. And then Dolgan also has some sons. He goes to, you take half the company and one of the mules, and the Duke's men too ill or wounded to continue and make for the castle at Cryde. And so that the Duke may instruct them. He says, and go to the other villages before the blizzard strike. Then come spring, the dwarves of the Grey Towers go to war.
And he only wants a pouch of tobacco and a dinner for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah. I got to admit, these dwarves I really do like. They're my heroes. And he also points out, once upon a path, a dwarf can never lose his way back. So, maybe a bit of foreshadowing, because we know that they're going to have to go into these tunnels.
I mean, there's no other way. Otherwise, I don't know. I would think they would get picked off or die in the snow or ice.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a mine tunnel, like a network, a vast network of mines and caves. And one of them goes straight through the mountain chain, or rather the mountain range.
Yeah.
Which will take them away from the threats, and they could just go south to Borden that way.
Yeah. And there's no way they could have done it, because you basically have to be a dwarf to know how to do it.
Yeah. Insanely easy to get lost, and
as we kind of find out in a second. And this is what Mac Mordain Cadal. I had a feel Khazad-dûm feelings a little bit here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
But then again, there's only that much you can do with caves. True.
And dwarves do that. Oh, yeah, look at Jacob. He goes, A Journey in the Dark. Oh, sorry, wrong book. Chapter 9.
Right?
Okay. Now, this is unfortunate wording. I'm just going to call it that. Because they're like, you're going to see something only dwarves usually see.
Hey.
And he goes, it's a glory hole, laddie.
I know. I thought of Stieg when I read that. I was like, wait.
What?
Isn't that one of your favorite things
hole.
ever?
I've never made use of a glory hole, madam.
You have had so many
And
glory
if
hole jokes.
So, I didn't know
not
it
even...
was you on the other side.
How many glory hole memes and jokes have you posted or shared?
None.
Yeah, there is glory hole. I was like, really? I mean, maybe
I
they
laughed
didn't
so
call
hard.
You know what though? In one of the later books, they find a severed hand that's used for magic. They make it move or something, and it's called a glory hand.
Ooh, does it?
I bet you can combine it with the glory hole.
That's what I was thinking. What do you do with the glory hand to glory hole thing?
Oh no. I mean, I just. Oh no. Oh gosh, yeah, and they were glittering. Yeah, they were. They're glittering and sparkling, and they have
fabulous
colors.
They're very
Water
fabulous.
splashing around.
It's awful.
Like, let's drink from it.
And then it's like later they pass through another of the glory holes, smaller than the last, but still impressive.
Yep.
Glory be to thee.
Oh, but okay, all joking aside, I think it's really cool how the cave's in there because of the way it is. That you know the different colors and the sparkles and all of that. And they're like, unfortunately, they said you'll soon see a sight no man living in future ever seen. Luminous colored dance to glow with the inner light, reds, golds, greens, blues, yellows played on the white front. So that is pretty cool. The way that the glittering cave, the glittering. Once more into the glory hole.
Yeah. Once more into the breach.
Oh no. No. Oh no. And then while they're sitting there looking at the glory hole, Bork sits next to Colgan. I've had an ill feeling for the last few hours.
Gotta be careful.
And
But
Pug's thinking about Carline.
Well, no, Bork's his father. Her father. You sick man?
I said Pug.
Oh,
He
Pug.
just said
Oh,
Pug.
Pug's
Okay,
thinking
Bork.
about Carline in the glory hole.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, because I just said Bork, and I didn't hear that. Okay, fine. You're not a sick man. At least not for that. But is it my imagining, or does something about this place bode evil? And then Colgan says, I have felt something also. Oh, wait. Colgan nodded as Arutha joined them. So then Arutha says, I have felt something awful, but it comes and goes.
In and out of the glory hole.
Stop. And then Pug is also feeling this, Thomas says in this Starlight. It's terrible because they're all feeling it, okay? And they're all like, I'll be glad to be done with this mine. And then someone said, Arutha's like, this place would give anyone a case of the jumping fits and starts. Perhaps we all feel the same thing. Dread it being where men do not belong. Why? I mean, it's their fault for calling it a glory hole.
I think there could have been different verbiage used, but
Well, but maybe back in the early,
might get fucked in there.
Oh no.
Now that would have been funny if they said, "Oh no, we're fucked."
Oh, dear. Poor Steven. I'm sorry you walked into this. But it's his fault for calling it. Well, this is the early '80s. Maybe that verbiage wasn't being used back then. I don't remember.
Probably not.
I was a little girl. Oh no, you're terrible, Jacob. I feel a disturbance in the glory. Yeah. And then later, Gordon says, I feel it too, boy. As if something is near. So, this is where his foreshadowing is a little heavy-handed, I think. Everyone's like, something's wrong. And then Pug has a chilling sensation that had plagued him earlier. But we have a cute moment with Dolgan where he says, winters are long and hard in the mountains. Once our herds are safe in winter pasture, there is little to do, so we sing our songs and drink autumn ale and wait for spring. It's a good life. And I'm like, oh, that actually sounds kind of cool and cozy.
Yeah.
I want to. Yeah, I was gonna say, I hope Stephen, we didn't chase him away because it's come into that kind of a discussion. It's kind of disturbing. But all right. Oh no, this is terrible. He wrote cold and stiff. Yes, get the mind out of the gutter. Time to leave. Yeah, it's terrible. We can't stop. Okay, well, according to Story to Poopus, glory hole is an old phrase. The sexual sense apparently dates from the 1940s. Okay, then you know what? Feist knew better.
Yeah. Bad.
Yeah,
Bad Feist.
bad Feist. Okay, so anyways, they all have. Oh my gosh, something terrible is happening. I feel it also. A faint, a faint moan echoed from another tunnel, but it was not a glory hole. It was a wraith. So they've had dark elves, they've had goblins, and now they've got a flipping wraith on them. And this wraith is scary as hell. And then Dolgan has to give some exposition. He says, "Keep close. You can't kill it, but they like not the feel of cold iron." So they don't like the feel of cold iron, but you can't kill it. So it's like, great, great. And then there's the what was it? There was a soldier, one of the guards, struck downward at the wraith. The creature shrank away, then with a sudden speed struck out at the guard. An arm-like shadow extended from its body, and the guard shrinked and crumbled to the ground. So this is one scary monster that they're facing now. And then it's basically a creature that just touches you and you die. And Colgan puts out a white smoke screen. It says the undead will not enter the smoke, but I can't keep it for long. And so they all try to get together, but then we see that in the confusion, Thomas had gotten behind the wraith and he couldn't get around it. It's impossible to get around it. He'll die. And Pug yells, "Thomas!" followed by a sob. And then Dolgan says, "We can't stop. We'll all perish for the sake of the boy. We must leave him, Pug. Tom is a soldier. He understands." And they pulled Pug away, and the undead creature started toward Thomas, slowly stalking him. The boy hesitated, then spun and ran into another tunnel. Pug saw the glow of Thomas's torch disappear down the tunnel, then flicker into blackness. And that's bad.
Yeah.
Because all of this foreshadowing has told us that only dwarves can find their way around here. That there's all these tunnels, and they've done a lot of really cool things showing us all these tunnels. And the next part of the chapter is just horrendous for me. I had complete and utter claustrophobia, and he's just going from one tunnel to the other, trying to get away from the wraith. But of course, what's ending up happening is he's getting completely lost in the dark. I mean, he's screwed. And he can't hear, he can't see.
Well, he has a torch, but
he
has to keep making new ones.
That's true. Yeah, because he starts to do it with whatever. With different vines. You are correct. So he can see a little bit, and there is one cool moment where he makes a little fire, and abruptly the cavern seemed to light up, and it was like the crystals that were around in the cave sparkled and reflected, and it gave it a fairy-like quality as far as the eye could follow, and it struck him he would be the only human to ever have witnessed this display.
Yeah, because he has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
Because at one point he hears footsteps or something way above.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's He's deep in the glory hole.
He went down in the glory.
Oh no, and yeah, Jordan Poopas isn't helping either. We will call it now a majestic crack and a marvel mouth. Okay, great. Yeah, just great. But no, but for reals. And they'd already set it up that they needed to be going up and through that middle tunnel thing to get out of there. So he's deep down in the bowels of the glory hole and lost. A human, not a dwarf, in there. And then, but he did hear a sound. He nearly shouted, but held off, for there was no assurance it was his friends. He thought for a moment, then decided whatever was making the noise might lead him out of the mines, even if only providing a trail to follow. With no other option appearing more attractive, he pulled himself up through the small hole, entering the new tunnel. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
No,
That's
Thomas
where we
is a
leave it.
human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool stuff is going to happen with Thomas in the very near future.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if he's like getting half a chapter or, if he's getting his own chapter. I don't know.
I believe, well, the next chapter is a pug. No, it's in the next chapter. Yeah, there's pug, and then the stuff with Thomas, it is in the next chapter.
Okay.
So
cool stuff happening.
yeah, it's going to totally take a total different direction than you could possibly imagine. I think it's pretty amazing, though, that the fate that happens by him hearing that noise and then crawling into a small hole in a cavern. I'm still very, very claustrophobic even thinking about it. But then what happens? What happens in the next chapter? And he says, yeah, cool. Yep. And then that's it. That's chapter 9. That's 100 pages. So there is a lot of material going on here. But I just couldn't stand it. Because I'm not one to like necessarily caves. Remember that situation that happened a few years ago where those young boys on a school trip went too far in and then got stuck? And yeah, I mean, that's just the kind of thing that just horrifies me. So,
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Teresa.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, caves always give a very claustrophobic vibe to me. And, they're either like, so I either picture them being very, very small and like either like very humid and musty or very cold and chilling and drafty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it's not okay on any level.
Thomas kept his head cool, though, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he is a teenager.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think it shows, well, he was well trained, the people that were training him. We saw a little bit about the training when he was being hazed a bit for losing his sword. They were making him
Yeah.
march like all day. Yeah, so that maybe there's something to be said about that.
Toughen him up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they don't behave, blindfold them, take them into a cave, leave them, let them get out.
Survival of the fittest, huh?
Yeah, toughen them up.
Yeah. Less mouths to feed at the end of the day.
Yeah, now they don't have to. Now they don't have to eat garden.
Well, if you think about it, though, so if you count them losing Thomas, they now are down to what, 8 people?
Yeah, because they had to leave a bunch with the dwarves as well. They were injured and.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it's only really Pug and the magician and Arutha and Garden's still with him. Yeah, about 5. I mean, it's
Yeah, Boric.
Boric. Yeah, Boric and Arutha.
Yeah, and Martin Longbow is missing
Oh, that's true.
because he was leading the scouts a bit, and then they found the 2 other scouts, right?
Yeah, those were the ones that they had like propped up to try to lure them in.
Yeah, but there was no Martin.
No, you're right. Well, I knew that Martin wasn't dead, but that's a plot point that I think if you blink, you might miss it because they are throwing a lot of information out at you.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's also a chaotic situation, so you'll get
Mm-hmm.
whatever Pug notices.
True.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because you're from his point of view. Oh my gosh. Well, but that's the end of this chapter. So I always like to kind of throw it out. I'll start with Rennie because she's the newbie. That anything from the beginning up to this point is fair game. What do you think?
Yeah, I still have that feeling like now that we've covered those chapters, the sense of impending doom and stuff, like, everybody getting, picked off and then, you know, being in desolate conditions. And then, it's like, oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. And then Thomas, like, getting separated from the group. And it just sounds like we're in for a lot more hopelessness. I hope I'm wrong, but I just really keep feeling like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. That's not all, or we haven't been through the worst.
Well, it's not going to be as bad as the second Shannara book, I think, because that one was constant,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of it, there was you had to see her turn into a tree. I know you took it a lot harder than I did, Rennie.
Yeah, I was like, that's just really sad because the poor girl was miserable the whole time, and then it's like, well, gotta give my life up and live as a tree now. So that was pretty sad.
So
Yeah,
were
you wanted her to be a
rooting
bit
for her?
happier.
Not
Oh
necessarily.
no.
Not necessarily rooting for her, but she went through and did everything that she was supposed to do, and she got no reward whatsoever. And it was just kind of, oh, that's kind of messed up.
Well, unless she was a tree hugger anyways, so I guess becoming a tree would be the next best thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I do
Jacob,
expect to see. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I do expect to see Pug come into his own eventually, but it's just kind of frustrating because he's constantly struggling with this, with his learning, so to speak, or his apprenticeship.
You will get a good explanation for it.
Okay, cool.
So it's not just there to be tedious or anything, but there is an explanation.
And is like Pug short for anything, or is that just his name? Because I don't recall seeing anything but just Pug.
No, it's just Pug.
Yeah, he's an orphan, so they just gave him that name.
Okay.
Yeah. Chapter 10 though. Oh, yeah. we're not going up through chapter 10, Jacob. We were going up through chapter 9.
Yeah. How many chapters are we doing next time?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. I want us to do something similar. Let's see. So we're doing chapter 10. Okay. I'm at page 210. So if we read, see, 10, 11, 12, if we read through 14, let's see, how long is 14? Okay, it will be 100 pages if we read chapter 10 through chapter 14. That'll be 5 chapters. And it's going to be a 2-weeker.
Yeah, if we have 2 weeks, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to read chapters 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 for next
Okay.
time. And yeah, I'll put it in the.
We'll
I
probably
usually.
be past the halfway mark by then because I think we're at 30s, 36 or 37%.
Yeah, let me see. I'll have to see where. Because see, in my book, it's all one book.
Yeah,
Uh,
mine as well. But it's
yeah, so
I'm,
the second part is like 400 page. Yeah, it's at the end of 400 pages.
I'm just using Magician Apprentice on Goodreads.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, book
with
2
the amount
is,
of pages, that would be accurate, wouldn't it?
yes, 200 more pages to Magician Master. Chapters 10 through 14, correct. Yes. Yeah, and I'll put it in the I usually pin it in the previous thing. I've been remembering to do that. Yes, Pug Snow. Pug Snow. Gee whiz.
Pug
You know
hole.
nothing. Uh, all right. Well, so that's what we'll do. Yeah, I will be in an undisclosed location. So, and with some very dodgy Wi-Fi, so I will not be able to confirm for next week. So, but by all means, go ahead and read on if you want to. It's not against the law to read more or to read less. We're very tolerant people here at Miss Martin Muses. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to thank everyone that's been reading along with us, especially Jacob. You've been with us the whole time. And of course, we've had Snow Poopus. We've had, well, Rennie, we've had Andrew Matthews, Tommy. Did I say some more? Oh, a meter advocate, Timon. Matt G brought the bacon. Stephen Ransom, I believe, showed up, and I think we scared him. Canadian Spider-Man, Tyron, your husband, Keck 44. And if there's anyone that I missed, please be sure to let me know because I don't want to be an a-hole. Oh, waving a paw. Thanks for the show. What does the panel think of it so far? Well, I love it because I've read this book so far. I'm actually in the King of Foxes right now in my current reading of Feist's book, which is about a few hundred years after these events. But
No, it's not a few hundred years. It's not that much.
okay, maybe 100.
Yeah, maybe.
We're all gonna sit. Let's fight about it. Well, because think about it, there was like a 30-year time jump. Never mind. But I digress. So, thank you. Yes, thank you. Well, Rennie, what do you think so far? To answer this question.
I'm still kind of struggling with this because I think, like I was saying previously, I just don't have a character that I connect with that well.
Mhm.
Also, if you're doing the audiobook is shit for this one.
Well, I like to do it while I read just so I retain the information. It just helps me to like have like the visual and the audio. But yeah, you are right. The guy that reads it is a real piece of crap. I'm surprised they haven't gotten complaints, but it's very hard to connect with these characters. Like, I appreciate Colgan and what he's done for Pug, and I feel for Pug sometimes, and then I also kind of understand, like, his relationships with all the other, teens in the castle, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I think Thomas is a pretty nice kid, but I don't know, I just don't have anybody where I'm like, oh, they're really cool. I did kind of like the Elven Prince, but we only got like a little bit of him, you know, so far as material. So, but that's, because he was very kind and he was very patient. He was willing to answer questions and, entertain the other guys. And, he's a prince. He just sat on the floor. He's like, oh, don't worry about me. I'll just sit here. No worries. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, but yeah, I just haven't found anyone that I really feel a strong connection with in this book yet. So I think that's why it's just been kind of a struggle for me.
I think that'll change though once it, you know, the chapters get more focused on each person.
Hmm.
You
Well, we'll
know,
Hopefully.
see. Yeah. Well, and this is it. I, not. It's hard to compare something to like the Lord of the Rings because it's incomparable. But I think it's very similar in that this story is so vast. Because I was thinking about what ends up happening even by the end of Magician Master, and if you think about it as one book, it's huge, and it's taking a very long time to rev up the engines.
yeah,
Uh,
but I'd say there are payoffs.
oh yeah, absolutely, there's payoffs, but what's going to end up happening is like right when you're looking at Magician Apprentice, it looks like 400 pages. But if when you're reading this book the way I did, where it's 1,000 pages and you're 200 into 1,000 pages, that's the pacing of it, and it's something far more. Um, you know, how do I say this? I don't know what the word I'm thinking of. The scope, maybe.
Hmm.
Oh, Andrew really likes the Daughter of the Empire and the Faith book and miniseries for that trilogy. Yeah, it's a bit different. That's what they're gonna do when they adapt it. They're gonna try to adapt the Daughter of the Empire at the same time as this, and I'm not
Ooh.
sure how that's gonna work.
No, because it's that one starts later in the timeline.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to get us reading this. Is you need to experience this, especially if you're experiencing it for the first time, before it's butchered. You need it
Yeah,
properly. So love it or hate it, you'll love it for what it is. Because I've learned that even if something is complete, like a TV show that's complete garbage, the visuals
Uh-oh.
yeah. We lost you again, Teresa.
Hey. I was like, uh-oh, is it me or did we lose her?
can get into your head. I know
You
I heard from
we lost you for the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
oh for well, I hate my life. And I'm hoping this isn't leaving this is probably leaving big gaps because y'all, unless were you talking while I was talking? While I was gone?
Well,
No,
other than to
No?
say, uh-oh, we lost her, that was about it.
Oh, okay. Well, the only reason I'm saying that is like because I don't want dead air either. It's
Nah, you
like
didn't have dead air.
oh yeah, Jacob Ironside says the daughter is going to be the bestest ever. We will not say more spoilers, but we found this on with the Rings of Power that the people that chose to watch it, they, uh, I did hear a lot of commentary where people were saying that there were images that got in their head. Even though they knew it was crap, it was like to see Galadriel, even if it was Galadriel in name only. You know, and it's a similar thing happened to me with the Last Jedi.
yeah,
That what happened in the Last Jedi, Luke has affected my enjoyment of the original trilogy, even
Oh,
though I knew it was
absolutely.
garbage. Yeah.
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 It's like you're watching the end of Return of the Jedi, and then you realize, yeah, Luke learned nothing
Yeah. It's like
from what
this
he just witnessed.
this temporary ending is horseshit. It means nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and they didn't destroy the Sith.
No.
Palpatine will, Anakin set the Sith back 3 minutes.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
here's a prophecy about a boy who's gonna set back the big evil for 13 minutes.
Yeah, and really, with previously like Vader being one of the best villains of all time, yet
Uh,
like one of the
he-
best heroes as well, that's shot to hell as well
yeah, I
for
mean,
many years.
even the Kenobi show pretty much makes it canon that he is nothing short of retarded.
He's just a dude in a robot suit
Yeah,
that has some force capabilities.
he's a Marvel villain now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that was the reason why I refused to even try to watch the Kenobi show, even hate watch it. 'Cause there is no way I get any. I'm that image of Darth Vader in my head.
Oh, absolutely. I
Him being a
refused to
dick.
watch it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Mandalorian after season 1. Didn't watch Kenobi. Did not watch Boba Fett. Don't care, and I will not be watching Ahsoka.
Yeah. Well, there's no point watching Ahsoka. It's
No.
gonna be
Crap.
yeah. It's gonna be
Galadriel
Filoni and
has
his
a
blow
there's
up
a
doll.
tempest in her glory hole.
Yeah.
Galadriel's glory hole.
Yeah. You know what? She should have won all the swimming medals. I mean, the woman swam from Valinor all the way to.
And Sauron's great plan was to, I'm going to hide on a raft. Someone
And
has
maybe
to find me.
Galadriel will come and swim towards me
Yeah.
in the middle
I'm so
of the
glad I
ocean.
didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. You see, I didn't have to watch it to know how ridiculous it was because everyone was
And it's
talking
like,
about it.
The only white guy that isn't Isildur. Yeah, who could the villain be?
Yeah. Yeah. No, who's the white man? Oh, okay. Don't forget Doogie Elrond. Oh, and then female Frodo.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, am I gone again?
I think so, at least for me,
No.
unless I hopped out for some reason.
No, it didn't vanish for me, but I think your sound goes out and so does your voice.
Mm.
I think you're losing both.
Okay. Stieg said, Jacob says, Stieg, you were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join. Yeah, Dulvani will be the new Galadriel in Amazon's remake. Oh my gosh!
Yuck.
Yeah, give me the meat and give it to me raw. Well, they could have used that line if they keep the glory hole line in the TV show version of this. That would certainly be something they could do. Oh, how absurd! But well, gosh, there's so much stuff wrong with the whole lore of Valinor that. Yeah, you could go home anytime you wanted. It's like, no. That's what being exiled was all about.
That's why that's why the Valar shut it off from the elves. They were being punished.
Yeah, and what did they had it, not Celebrimbor. Was it Celebrimbor? No, who was the elf that they effed with that they had that he was the one that was allowed to say who could and couldn't go to Valinor? One of the other elves in name only from the show. It was the only elf that had long hair, but they had it that he had the right to say who could and couldn't go to Valinor. And I'm like, it's like saying that, I don't know, that they're God. They gave him the role of God. And it's like, no, that's not how it worked, but no one cares.
Andrew Matthews is saying it was Gil-galad.
Gil-galad, thank you. The name escaped me. Yeah, because he was the only one that had long hair. Yeah, that Gil-galad was the one who decided who got to go to Valinor or not. Yeah, it's like making Saint Peter be the one to decide who gets saved. It's like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how Valinor works. Misspell. That's all right. We can misspell. It's easy to misspell anything to do with it, but we knew to what you were referring. All right. So that's the ball game there. So please, everyone, if you are reading along, read along with us another 100 pages, and I will pin it in this chat to what we are reading in 2 weeks, which we will be in May. Am I correct? I think I am.
Yeah.
It'll be Coronation Day. I'm the only person on the planet that's excited about the coronation
of King Chucky.
King Chucky. Yes. Well, first of all, I like royal stuff, and second of all, Andrew Lloyd Webber is writing the coronation anthem, and that's when it's going to be released. and it's a setting of Psalm 98. And Andrew Lloyd Webber is a master, so I can't wait to hear that piece of music. It's with trumpet and orchestra and choir. Chuck E. Cheese the third. So it might be at the beginning of the service, so maybe I could go to sleep after that because he's basically written King Charles's theme song. See, if I were the queen, I would get Andrew Lloyd Webber to write my theme song too.
Meghan Markle and her peg boy has a South Park theme song, I think.
Yes, the worldwide privacy tour. Na 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 na, the worldwide privacy tour. It's yeah, that's great. No, she's not going, but Harry is. So she's like, yeah, you go over there, darling, and take the booze. But yeah, but I will be awake, even though I will be up in the middle of the night watching the coronation. I will be here in time for our stream. And hopefully, well, I don't know. I'm going to jinx myself about Andrew Lloyd Webber. I was about to say he can't write a bad tune. And I'm like, well, and then watch him. He's my man. A great composer. And Patrick Doyle is also unveiling, he is doing the overture. So I love Patrick Doyle. He's a great composer as well. So unless anyone else has anything, oh my gosh, Snortopupus. Megan muck it up. Okay, put a pin in it, folks. Tap your heels together. Snortopupus. I'm sorry I missed this comment. Close your eyes, tap your heels together 3 times, and think to yourself, there's no place like Valinor. That's exactly what it was. All right. So unless any of you have any burning desires. No? Okay.
Yeah.
No burning desires? No. Okay, I'm a bad bear. No, Lizzo is not doing the flute solo. No, they're having like real musicians do this stuff. Yeah, and they're having like 4 opera singers and everything. It's going to be cool. So I digress. So I forgot to say my usual outro. You can tell my brain cells are starting to go. Rennie, what's coming up? Anything coming up with you?
Not sure at this moment. We still need to go do part 2 of Godfather 2 on Brown's channel. It's just getting everyone together has not been easy. So
Lovely.
keep everyone posted on that. But aside from 2 weeks from today being back here, not really much.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to get some more live streams done. It just really depends on what's happening in real life. Yeah, I think I will. I've changed my release date to Friday for the videos. I'm still working, as I said, on that Close Encounters of the Kerwin Kind. That's what I'm calling the title of the video. Again, it's just tricky because I've had to try to find a way to visually present musical ideas, which isn't always easy, but I am in the editing phase right now. We will see what happens. Other than that, maybe look for some more Skyrim recipes, something about Tolkien, or maybe one of my historical essays. I'll just be bringing that out on Fridays. So, Stieg.
Top 10 on Morris channel on Wednesday. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, Jacob, if I get crowned king, I'm going to have the Imperial March as my song. Nice. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain
to remember that the ox may be slow, but the earth is patient.
How very philosophical.
I was going to say, what the hell? Okay, I was just going to say be certain to stay away from dwarven glory holes, but okay. We'll take that too. Have a good day, everyone.